Joining me now from Nepal is Darshan Prajuli, is a journalist covering this closely. Constantino Javier, a senior fellow at the Foreign Policy and Security Studies at Center for Social and Economic Progress. His research has covered foreign policy issues and crisis in Nepal, in Sri Lanka and in Myanmar. Dr. Sarthak Nepal is a citizen journalist and an orthopedic surgeon, joins us from Kathmandu. And Pravesh Subedi is a journalist. And Darshan Prajuli, may come and ask you first, the current situation, any clarity on who leads Nepal and how, and what happens to the old parliament? Does it now completely stand dissolved?
Yeah, I mean, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Go on, sir.
Right. So the situation on the ground here right now in Nepal is insane. There is a lot of international player that has been, playing a inside game. These political parties, and the name is already out. Susila Karki, who is backed by Balendra Saha, has been already backed. But also there are so many other things that's happening at the same time. Also, these protesters are questioning the, role of army chief here, because there is vacuum at the moment. So there are many players with some interest. It looked like the Durga Persai and other different statements that these three political parties are issuing at the moment is very worrying for this Gen Z revolution. As far as I understand, I've talked with a few of the leaders of these Gen Z revolutions like Hami Nepali and such. And as you can see, these people, there is always this issue of divide and rule. So I also request Indian media to spread factual information, because of just one small misinformation, it can change the whole narrative of how this whole Gen Z revolution was started.
No, that's exactly why we have journalists on ground covering this, on our broadcast, so that there are only facts, and especially on India Today, it's always facts first. But Constantino Javier, will this interim leadership that comes up, will it have the kind of legitimacy that is required to bring about the reforms that the protesters or the Gen Z revolutionaries wanted? War on corruption, alternative governance. How will they have the systems in place?
Yeah, ultimately the whole.
Okay, give me a moment. Let me get Constantino Javier to
Great
respond
point,
to this.
Gaurav.
Go on, sir.
Yeah, great point, Gaurav. I think that's the million dollars question. Point at this idea of the foreign hand. I think that's lazy thinking. I agree with Ambassador Sood. Let's understand the Nepali hand. This is a generation which is angry, worried about the economic future, tired of the old leadership, and just another chapter what we've been seeing play out in the entire region, Sri Lanka and Maldives and Bangladesh. So a change. Second, the Gen Z, to your point, Gaurav, played a role in the end, I think, of the old system, as we saw the last few days. But you can't govern a country on Zoom, right, which they have been doing. I mean, Gen Z is the solution to the end of the old system, but obviously is not ready to step in and govern this country. So it creates a vacuum. So therefore, point three, Gaurav, to your point, I mean, we're hearing calls to abolish the constitution. The constitution of Nepal took 9 years to design. It took a long time, and it was very difficult. So I think that's certainly not that's not the problem, because the problem was the people that were managing the constitution. 17 prime ministers in 20 years, mostly a rotation of 3, 4 old upper caste old men. So the other solution, the only one I see out here, Gaurav, is keeping the parliament, not until 2027, but holding elections as soon as possible, because two things will happen. If you hold elections within the old traditional parties, there will finally the emergence of a new generation of people. Leaders like, for example, just to give you an example, in the Nepal Congress, Gagan Thapa, who's 49 years old, has still not emerged as a leader of his party. He could have, and maybe it's too late now, but that is the first thing that will happen within the three old parties. The second thing that will happen as soon as you hold elections is that the new parties that are already rising will create more force. Other new parties, including the Gen Z parties, which have the possibility to create their own parties and voice their own concerns, will also be created. And I think then you open up the path for a real, more democratic and stable Nepal as soon as those elections are held.
Let me bring in Dr. Sarthak Nepal to weigh in on this. The next generation of the existing parties or names that crop up through this opinion poll that's taken online on platforms like Discord. How will Nepal move forward, sir? What's the template that's likely to be followed?
I think first the interim government should come in place, and I feel it is very much important to have a leader at the moment who could conduct the proper election. Not like Bangladesh, where Muhammad Yunus was there, and the elections could not be there for a long time. But it is very, very important for Nepal to have a proper leader who could lead us to have a general election within a very quick time. So I feel any of the names that have been coming up, Susila Karki or Kulman Gising, I think both of them have done extremely great job at their time. But the names that have mostly represented, and have been given by the Gen Z is Honorable ex Chief Justice Susila Karki, and
Yes.
she is in talks with the President Ramchandra Paudel and the Chief of Army as well. So I think she could be one of the potential leader for us for quite some time, and then elections, and then we can see the rise of the older or the newer parties, probably new parties, because the people are not really happy with the older parties like Nepali Congress and
Yes.
CPN UML, CPN Maoist, and all.
So Pravesh
Probably
Subedi,
Rashtriya Swatantra Party, yeah,
okay,
could
and
rise up as
Pravesh
well.
Suedi,
So
do you also see this as the end of the road for leaders like KP Sharma Oli, Prachanda Sher Bahadur Deoba, Girja Prasad Koirala, that entire old leadership, end of the road for them? And what about leaders like Kulman
Uh,
Ghising? If I may, people could talk of him as this Nepal Electricity Authority can-do man. He got rid of corruption. He led the crusade against corruption. No more 18-hour power cuts. Is he the man of the moment along with Sushila Karki?
things are evolving so rapidly. What we assume yesterday is not same today. There are a lot of things happening today, day and night. So it's not clear picture. We have no clear picture yet. But what can I assume right now is the Gen Z team are very committed to the democratic process. They respect the current constitution, and they even showing some sort of fear with the army leadership and negotiation. They are not feeling comfortable with dealing with the army leadership. What I observed there hours long discussion on internet. It's not clear what sort of leadership they are expecting. We are clear that they want not corrupted fresh leader, but they are not confident themselves they can give a good and strong leadership from their own network or their preferred network like Balen or something we said earlier. So ultimately what I say is, if the smart move taken from the old political parties, mainly from the young generation leaders, there is
Okay.
still some space for them.
Interesting. So younger leadership from the existing parties join hands with the new one. But,
Yeah,
Darshan Prajali,
there.
why did Balen Shah suddenly take a backseat? Because everyone said he'd done a lot between 2022 and 2025. He's immensely popular. Why is he taking a backseat? Or is the political posturing for now?
No, I think in my understanding why Balensa, took a black is so the whoever forms a government today for the election is just a Kam Chalao Sarkar, right? Just for the 6 months. So when everything changes, because every Gen Z wants Balen to be 5 year president if he choose that path. And right now the breaking that I can give you is, I mean, Nepal army haven't shown. I mean, the president, where is president? That's the question of Gen Z, and everyone is demanding to, because the president has only been publishing a statement. We haven't seen him live. So I mean, one of the the demand that Gen Z are making right now is, where is the the president?
Constantino Javier, that's quite a valid point. One would have expected the president to address the nation, but it was the army chief, as Ambassador Sood also pointed out. And nobody in Nepal has seen the president. Nobody knows where ousted Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli is hiding. They just saw a helicopter leaving, and what happened after that? Where did that helicopter land? All of that information is not there. But at the same time, the challenges remain immense. The burning down of government buildings and courts, spontaneous anger against authority. But in the absence of the same authority, restoration of normalcy would be extremely difficult, not just in Kathmandu, but across Nepal.
Yes. 2 points, Agora. First one is, see, with all due respect to the president of Nepal, he's missing in action because he's an actor from a movie that has ended. That chapter is ended. There's no confidence on the streets in a set of personas and people that have ran the country. There are unacceptable people for whatever solution comes, number one. Number two, the people that are going to step in, as our Nepali friends were just saying, I think there will be people of transition. Not like in the Bangladesh case with the assumption and the ambition, which was in some ways an illusion that they would reform and restructure the entire country without elections, and finally have come to the terms that they have to have elections first. But here I think we have a cast of people that inspire confidence, have given good signs towards India over the last 2 days, that they want to work towards early elections that will bring to the scene a new generation of people that will run the country. Third, on the law and order, there's only one institution currently that is capable of providing law and order. It has been doing so since yesterday evening. It is the Nepal Army. In fact, led by an army chief who also studied in India and has good links here. So I think in that sense, what we need now is any of these figures to come to force and allow this to move on as soon as possible towards elections. And that will be, I think, something that will be welcome across the world. Just one point also about what other countries are doing or not doing. One of your previous questions. I think China has limited appetite to support Nepal in economic terms. We saw this in Sri Lanka, where Sri Lanka had a financial default. The Chinese were missing in action. And Nepal, I think, today notices and understands that. The West, as we know, has no appetite for great donations and support these days, especially the United States of America. So I think that just poses a huge challenge and onus on India also to be supportive of this next generation of Nepali leaders, listen to them, learn from what they want, and then provide, if request-based, what they need to provide a stable economy. Because this crisis, Gaurav, is an economic crisis. Let's not forget this. It is about a generation that has lost hope and is worried about the economic elevator that is less frequent and less capable. It is worried about the previous generation having gained from economic openness, and they are worried about their jobs, their prospects, which manifests politically, as we saw this week, in a very violent way.
Indeed, and you're absolutely right. India has a very major responsibility, of course, depending on the help that is sought by the new leadership in Nepal, as and when that leadership comes. But Dr. Sarthak, Nepal, what happens to the constitution of Nepal? Because there are voices within Gen Z who are not happy with the existing constitution. So what happens? How is that aspect likely to be taken forward?
I think it is very important to understand that the constitution, we draft everything according to the existing constitution as said by the President Ramchandra Paudel. There has been a lot of chaos regarding what are we going to do with the constitution, but even the Gen Z community have addressed the issue that they want the current constitution, and but they want it in a way that it could be amended, and they want it in a good way. So I think the constitution that has been existing in the present will be continued, but there has been a lot of issues with the parliamentary dissolution, as some of the mm, parties, some of the questions that have been arising is regarding the dissolution of the parliament within the different parties as well. So it is a big question,
Okay.
even for the newer and the older parties that are emerging here.
That's a very important point that you make, and there is a lot of uncertainty even now. It's sincerely hope that peace returns and, of course, prosperity to this Himalayan paradise as quickly as possible. To all my guests, many thanks, many thanks for joining me.